So there's a theory of radiation, and that's in which energetic particles or energetic waves travel through space. They radiate out. This light is radiating out. That light is radiating out. These lights are radiating out. That's the theory of radiation. The particles or waves travel outward in all directions from a source, so they actually travel in straight lines. Like the sun puts out things in straight lines. That's like a male energy. Radiation is like a male energy or a yang energy. I really loved a description that Ron Teegarden gave about yin and yang. He said yin substances, they take and hold and nourish. That's what yin means. Yang expels energy straight out. It's a completely different type of energy, right? More the male energy. But the yin energy is a different energy. It holds and nourishes. This is what we see in our atmosphere as positive charge and negative charge, and the earth itself. So this is something that took me years to figure this all out. I just was confused like everybody else. My God, I read this book and say like negative ions, and then I read something else and it was like negative ions, and then I read this book and negative ions, and it was all like these things are all great, but then I'd be like, what's a negative ion? I couldn't understand what a negative ion was. So what it is, it's an electrical charge. It's a negative charge, like negative side of a battery. That's a negative ion. So what does that mean? Well, if I go over here and I touch this bed, which is earthed, the earth itself has a negative shield of charge on it. And when I touch this, automatically the negative shielding of this earth envelopes me instantly. It's instantaneous as soon as I touch that. I'll show you that. We're going to show you that here in a minute. If I get ejected up in the upper atmosphere, let's say I'm on an airplane, there's tons of positive charge up there. So the atmosphere is positively charged, the earth is negatively charged, just like two ends of a battery. And there will be current that flows between them, just like a battery. What do we call that current? Lightning. So there's a potential. Now even just standing up, there's a negative charge down there, positive charge up there. And there is a potential, and the only reason we aren't fried by that is there's no energy in it. But there is a positive and negative potential. If a lightning bolt strikes, suddenly that whole potential is powered up and the energy moves through. So what we've been looking at is that, and this all came out from the ion effect, which was written in the 70s actually, it's a great book, that when there's a change in your charge, when you get too much positive charge on you, for example, you ever had this happen? You're walking across the carpet at a hotel during your winter vacation. You touch the doorknob, that's called static electricity. That will break your immune system down faster than anything. And that's why people get sick around November. The atmosphere dries out. Nobody's grounded anymore because it's too cold, so there's no negative charge allowed to come in, and you start getting shocked. And that's when your immune system starts breaking down. Too much positive charge. Now this is fun. Whenever I'm traveling around, I was in Calgary, a lot of static charge in Calgary because it's really dry, especially in the winter. And I get static charge all over my clothes. I come back into my room, I've got my grounded mat, and I throw all my staticky clothes on it, and it kills it instantly. Try it out, check it out, do it. It's a trip. You start seeing what positive, negative means. You got static charge on your clothes, throw it on a grounded mattress, and it's gone. It pushes it right off. And it does that to you too. Every disease condition is associated with a positive charge. Every disease condition is associated with positive charge. And so the buildup of positive charge in your body, being fried, that's the free radical theory of aging, getting fried by the atmosphere, you can defend yourself, and there's many ways to defend yourself. One of them is eat more pigments or love particles. Remember that. You got to eat love particles, which is the color pigments of the earth, and those are negative electricity concentrates, essentially. You can get on the earth or in the waters of the earth, and that shields you. You can become like a yogi. What's the story of the yogi? The yogi, the master, gets put into a box, dropped into the earth, and buried in the earth. A year later, they dig up the master, and he's still alive. How could that dude still be alive? And the answer is we don't really know what's in the earth. We don't know what the energies are that are in the earth. Definitely negative charge has something to do with it. Because when you're completely inside your mother, you're completely shielded in a negative charge. As soon as you come out and you go, and you take your first breath of positive charge from the atmosphere and you begin to become oxidized, which is exactly when you get imprinted with the astrological data of your birth moment, which is your astrological coordinates. It's when where you take your first breath. That's where you get imprinted with your astrological coordinates, because all that out there is all positive charge. And all this in here, in the earth, inside your mother, is all negative charge. I mean, you're not shoed and pregnant. You're, after all, barefoot and pregnant, aren't you? There's something in that. What is that? It's because the mother has to actually get that charge to come through. Super important part of pregnancy. So you got to be touching the earth. You have to be connected to the earth's electricity, because you're an electromagnetic shield to that baby, and the negative charge shields you from the positive charge of the atmosphere. One of the great places in the world to be at the beach, to be able to be connected barefoot to the earth. It's in fact a great reason why people come on vacations, why we're at this great resort here in Hawaii. On this earth, there's a charge, there's a surface charge. It's on the water, it's on all the rivers, it's on the springs. There's that surface charge of negatively charged electricity. This is what's been discovered. So the atmosphere is basically positively charged and the earth is negatively charged. And because I'm barefoot, I'm able to actually be part of the great earth. The earth is so big, it immediately envelopes me as soon as I touch it with my skin. But if I'm insulated with the rubber-soled shoe or the plastic-soled shoe, if I'm insulated by wooden floors, if I'm insulated by carpets, if I'm insulated by vehicles or airplanes, then I'm separated away from the Earth's electromagnetic field, and it changes my own static field. In fact, I'm then isolated as an electromagnetic island, and I'm susceptible to the bombardment of EMF frequencies, especially in the low-frequency range. So I've been working for years to actually go barefoot, and I have to say, like when you're a child, 6, 7 years old, and you go barefoot for the whole summer, your feet get tough and you get tough, and it's just easy. But as an adult, I'd spent years, and I'd get on tough surfaces and it would hurt, and I'd be like, I've been going for a couple of years here, what's going on? But finally, after about 3 years, my feet toughened up. They just toughened up, and all of a sudden I'm walking on gravel, I'm walking on surfaces, and it finally happened. So I feel really happy about that. Basically, I'm almost always grounded. That's what I've learned from not only my experiences barefoot, but also from the grounding technology, is that whenever I'm not grounded, I feel it. So I'm almost always grounded. I'm going to take you through my typical situation so that you can adapt this into your lifestyle and see if there are times and places where you can be grounded as well. One is I go barefoot as much as possible. 2 is that even when I'm sleeping or at the computer doing any kind of desk work, I'm always using grounded or earthing technology to pull that electromagnetic field of the earth to me and to come into my body and drive off the aberrant EMF that's around me. And by the way, the earth itself is the best defense we've got against all these aberrant frequencies that are in our atmosphere, from cell phones to Wi-Fi to radio frequencies, etc. Not that the earth blocks all that, but the earth blocks the low frequency stuff for sure, including radio waves, and that can be brought into you just by being barefoot. Even when I'm in a car, I have a little device that I drag in my car, and that grounds the chassis of my car. You may not be aware of this, but the chassis of your vehicle is actually connected to the negative terminal of your battery. So your car is actually negatively charged. Even if you touch the metal of your car, it's actually better than not touching it, because that negative charge will give you a subtle little sharper energy, especially late at night. You'll be able to drive with a little bit more sharpness at night because you got a little bit of a negative charge on you. But again, I've gone a little bit further. I've got a device that drags under my car, just a little, it's a electromagnetically conductive rubber, and it's carbon impregnated rubber that it allows the chassis to bring the electricity from the earth into it, and then I have a thing that I sit on that allows me to be grounded to the earth even while driving. I use grounded mouse pads, I use universal mats, I walk barefoot. If I'm in a city, sometimes I've got to wear a Vibram 5-finger shoe, and that's what I need to do at that time. Sometimes if I'm doing a big event with some big speakers, I'll use a Vibram 5-finger shoe. And I like using the Vibrams because they give your foot a natural articulation. They allow your back and spine to move naturally. It's like what Dr. Rossi said, 60 plus years of research, and he said it's impossible for a shoe-wearing human to have a natural gait, a natural walk, because the shoe doesn't allow your arch to be activated properly, doesn't allow you to use your whole foot. And I did go through about a 6-month process of re-educating my feet when I really went barefoot, when I really went for it about 3 years ago and really went for the five-finger shoe, the Vibram shoe, when I wasn't barefoot. So sometimes I'll have to use that, but most of the time I'm actually walking around barefoot, and it gives you a feeling of connection. It's really source energy. And when I'm in the summertime, deep in the summer, especially in the forests of North America, way out in the middle of nowhere, barefoot walking, there's a sense of ecstasy and bliss that comes out of the earth. It's a feeling. It's definitely there. I've definitely felt it when it's not there, and I've definitely felt it when it's there. There is an energy that comes out of the earth that is blocked by shoes and shoe wearing. And if you're a hiker, if you're a runner, if you're a walker, this is something you want to start thinking about. You want to start thinking about going barefoot and becoming part of the barefoot revolution and reconnecting to our earth again. Now you got to have sense about this. Go slow, step by step, re-educate your foot, strengthen the arch in your foot, strengthen your calves, and you'll get there. I'm completely ungrounded right now, right? I'm not touching any, like, grounded anything. So we're just going to see what I'm going to be getting hit by right here. Watch this. So I got a little thing here, so I'm going to connect on. This is going to show me how much radiation is hitting me. Okay, now we're going to zoom in on this. Watch this. Now you can see the big harmonic right there. What's that one? See that? That's 60 hertz right there. Why is it 60 hertz? Because the electricity is all at 60 hertz. Now watch what happens here. Touching the light. Watch this. I'm going to turn it off. Watch this. Didn't change at all. If you turn your lights off, it does not change anything. Watch. Turn it on. Turn it off. You're still getting fried. Wire coming through your, like if I just touch, watch what happens here. Watch this. Now I'm touching the wire. But now watch when I ground myself. This is an oscilloscope. It's telling me what's happening in all these cycles. Now watch again. I'm going to get off the bed. And that's just one surface. If I put more, it's going to go better. Watch. If I touch here, boom, it knocks it out. See how that 60 hertz spike? See how bad that is? See how much it knocks it out, quiets it out? Now I'm going to show you on voltage. See what I'm getting hit by right there? That's 2.7 volts. 2.8 volts. Okay, there we go. Watch this. 3 millivolts. Watch. 2.6 volts. 4.3 millivolts, and it will keep going down if I just stay here long enough. Now if I sit here like that, watch, keeps going down. If I just get on like this, like that, okay. Should go to 0. If I touch this to the bed, it will go to 0.
And I first was interested in it when a lot of elite athletes were using it for recovery, and they were also, it was useful for tissue healing and wound repair. So those are the reasons why I think it's so useful. I've been doing it for about 7 years. And one of the ways you can do this at night, you're recovering. So we use the technology at night to make sure that they get up the next day fully recovered. The second use of the technology is to accelerate tissue repair and wound healing from injuries that may be sustained during a day's tour race. The Tour de France is by far the most difficult sporting event in the world. It's comparable to running 3 marathons a day for 22 consecutive days. The athletes reported and observed better sleep, less pain, more energy, faster recovery from injuries on a routine and regular basis. Jaroslav Popovic crashed on a time trial, had massive abrasions to his right hip and his right elbow. The moment that we got back to the hotel, we used the earthing technology immediately to start to accelerate his recovery. He was able to get up and compete fully the following day and put in one of the most significant contributions to helping Alberta win that year's tour.
One of the things I learned is that I was actually trying to do the impossible, which is getting people to do wheatgrass enemas. And for years of that kind of service, the universe rewarded me with the simplest thing ever. You don't have to leave your seat. You don't have to go anywhere. And this is the most phenomenal discovery that Len and I have ever come across together in the last 10 years that we've been together, working together. So we are actually going to do something that's never been done before, and that is we're going to ground every single person in the first maybe 2/3 of this room.
Hold up, 460 people.
460 people will be grounded.
Yes. And just so everybody knows, this is the actual grounding mechanism. If you want to explain exactly, when this, okay, right here, this little point right here, when this, don't touch it yet, please.
There's one by your seat, in case you're wondering.
When this actually touches your skin, Dave is going to explain exactly what happens. So you peel off the sticker. Don't do it yet, though, and it touches your skin.
Okay, so what's going to happen is that we have had the developer of this grounding technology come into this room and actually wire up every seat, 460 seats, almost every seat in this room, and except for the back portions and corners and that kind of a thing. And what's going on is that you are going to actually be able to touch the ground. So electrically. Now this wire is connected to a rod that's stuck in the ground outside. And that means that you're going to get electrically connected to the earth. Now you think, well, what could that do? Is that really a big deal? And we're going to find out together that it is a big deal. It's one of the biggest deals ever. And that shoes have been doing a whole lot of damage to us we never suspected. Being in insulated homes with carpets has been damaging us in ways that we never expected. And we're going to find out just how quickly you can remove inflammation and pain from your body. Then, as Len was alluding to, we're going to see it. We're going to see blood normally as we are, which is in shoes running around the world, and then we're going to see what happens when we connect to the earth. Go barefoot, and the only way we can do that in a carpeted room is to connect ourselves electrically this way. We're going to see what that blood looks like in about an hour or so. Does that sound like the best thing ever? So now let's talk about what it means to be grounded and what that looks like. If we had a room filled with oxygen, and the room next door had about 8% oxygen, and we're in there going, ooh. If we opened the door between them, what's going to happen? What happens? Right, it floods in. It's called diffusion. In the plants, it's called osmosis, that everything tries to equal out. And so the oxygen will rush into that room in order to fill that gap, and we'll go, oh. And that's exactly what it's like to go barefoot. As soon as you put your foot on the ground, the electricity rushes into you because in most cases, in fact in all cases, we're deficient in the Earth's electrons or electricity. And therefore, the Earth senses an imbalance, and literally it's like suction. It's just drawn right into you. Over time, because we have various gates that block just the immediate absorption of everything, over time it increases your negative electrical charge, or you gain more electricity. And that's what this idea is. Anytime you have two conductive objects, two rooms next to each other, that make contact, you open the door, such as your bare feet on the ground, the electrons will flow from the place where they are abundant, remember that room with all the oxygen in it, into the place where they're less abundant. The electrical potential of the two objects will thus equalize, and that's called earthing. That's called grounding. And that's when we come to that place of starting to be connected again to the earth. You ever heard this phrase before? We're disconnected. I feel ungrounded. Or you ground your child. Their behaviors are erratic, crazy. You're grounded. Right? The anxiety, the erratic behavior. We're going to look at some slides here that I believe are going to shock you. And this is the science. And Clint has been responsible, it's been about 30 studies now on this subject. And we're just going to be giving you the cliff notes on all that. Pictures, which is great because you can see the bar graphs, you can see the images, you can see how things change over time when you're grounded. We're going to see the blood, what happens, right? You're going to get to feel that. We're going to see what happens in an hour or two. It's only going to, 20 minutes. It's the shoe. The rubber-soled shoe is a big factor in this. And then also buildings, first floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor, fifth. You know what I'm going here to here? 30th floor. That we are so high up in the atmosphere, big problems can develop. 40% more strokes on the second floor than the first floor. Just 2-story house. Because there's a voltage change as you go higher up in the atmosphere. The higher up you are with no ground to connect you to the earth, the more troubles will arise and the faster and the worse the inflammation will be.
接地亦可等同血清機嘅功效，使紅血球分開。
So we got the blood sample, that's good. Here's what we're going to see in their blood. Here's what's been researched. Gaetano's going to be here. He's the scientist behind this. Pre-grounding, we see the clumping. Post-grounding, instant change of the charge on every cell. The cell is electrical, not chemical. The cell is electrical, not chemical. And therefore, as soon as the electrons are available, boom, the charge comes onto the cell and it's able to produce a zeta potential, which keeps every cell bouncing off of every other cell, but not clumping with every other cell. The clumping is electroplating. It means that there's a deficiency of electrons. Everybody's trying to get together to try to get the oxygen or to get wherever the charge is. Does that make sense? Like, you know, if we weren't all grounded, we'd all be touching each other and clustering up next to each other to try to get to the person who is grounded. So it's like, oh, we want what you got. And that's kind of what happens to our blood. My opinion about this is that this is going to lead to a dramatic change in our longevity.
接地可以令用電腦嘅人唔會受到電腦嘅電磁波影響。
When you ground yourself, this is a great grounding pad. This is what I have underneath my computer. Right? So my feet are on that. So when that computer is sending its EMFs at me, yep, it blocks it. It shields you because you become part of the earth and it just shields goes right over you. We're going to show you images of that. So the original medicine.
可以將人嘅壓力荷爾蒙、皮質醇數字回復正常，幫助改善睡眠質素同埋減低壓力，尤其是平衡女性嘅荷爾蒙，甚至係甲狀腺問題。
Cortisol. Who is familiar with the research on cortisol that's come to light in the last 10 years? That's indicating that these elevated cortisol levels are bringing forth a whole bunch of problems. We've got sleep disorders, hypertension, the whole list is there, autoimmune conditions, erratic glucose levels, blood sugar, erratic behavior, mood disturbances, decreased immune response, and of course, changes in bone density. Watch this. This is a normal 24-hour cortisol profile. So it changes. Just like everything in our body, very important word is in a cascade of circadian rhythms, right? Everything is in a pulsation. Our heart doesn't go boop, right? What does it do? Bup, 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 bup. It's in a rhythm. That rhythm can speed up, bup, 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 or it can slow down. Bup, 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 bup. But it's a rhythm. That's this. Okay, everything is going on like that. Our hormones are like that, all our neurotransmitters. This is a study that was done. It's called The Biological Effects of Grounding the Human Body During Sleep as Measured by Cortisol Secretion and Subjective Reporting of Sleep, Pain, and Stress. Here it is. On your left side, you're going to see 24-hour cortisol secretion profile before grounding and then after. Immediate changes in cortisol levels. Okay, watch this. Mostly affecting females. Most pronounced effects. You're going to see this pattern coming up quite a bit. And the pattern is, as soon as you ground yourself, all your circadian rhythms go to order. As soon as you unground yourself, they go to chaos. And what Clint has theorized, and I think it's accurate, it's been my experience for sure, is that the Earth is a reference point for our circadian rhythms. So here's what the results are indicating. The grounding the human body to the Earth during sleep reduces nighttime levels of cortisol and resynchronizes cortisol hormones to more in alignment with the natural 24-hour rhythm. Changes were most apparent in women. Why do you think that is? Because generally there's more circadian rhythm issues going on in women, right? More hormones, more of a variety of hormones, and women generally can't kind of go against the nature's laws as much as men can. Otherwise things will come up, yeast infections come up, things that'll throw the female body out of balance. faster than men. So that's why it's usually women who show up to health lectures, right? Because you can't get away with the transgressions as much. Now this has been profound, and actually I was talking with Clint about this yesterday. This has been, or the day before. This has been so profound that it's actually been found if you ground yourself to the earth, you've got to cut your thyroid medication. And there are implications here. So this is something to be very aware of. And we also know with blood thinner medication, as we're going to see, that you got to be also very careful, and you got to work with a physician or someone who can help you to cut back in a way that's appropriate to the new homeostasis that you're going to settle into when you're grounded.
改善所有炎症非常有效。
This buzzword, inflammation, I think it hit Newsweek magazine and Time magazine. It must have been, it was about 6 years ago. Do you remember when that hit? And it's like, okay, now we're on to this whole idea of inflammation. That it appears that the big undertaker that's taken us out, bad problems with the ankles, hips, chronic inflammation, injury, trauma that never goes away, that it's something to do with this inflammation which just keeps producing an immune response that evolves into constant and chronic pain. Now, I sat down with Clint last night. He said there is no inflammation in nature. Can't exist. That inflammation is a response that's a free radical response, and normally you're touching the ground. Immediately, the electricity of the earth neutralizes all the free radical damage, and you can have no inflammation. Yep. You know where this goes pretty darn quick. It's because we're going to see it. Because there's some folks here who have been in pain for a while. And we're going to see how quickly they go out of pain. There's Time Magazine 2004. So that's 6 years ago, 7 years ago, basically. This is what's been attributed to all this inflammation, all the different conditions, chronic this, chronic that, chronic neck pain. I know there's a lot of people who won't admit it, but who will admit neck pain? Okay, who won't admit anything no matter what I say? Who here will never raise their hand no matter what? Okay, good. Look at it. Look at the list. The relationship between osteoporosis and grounding will be explored, and it's a big one. The relationship between all the different conditions. MS. There was a woman called the other day. What was her issue? It wasn't MS. It was fibromyalgia. Is that on the list? I mean, these are issues that are related to having electricity problems.
可以改善皮膚問題，減低發生腫瘤嘅機會。
So this is what we're hearing. This is in the media. You've seen it. Chronic inflammation. That's the engine that is really creating this, the aging. It's really associated with aging. I want to put this up here because when you ground yourself, as you've done, there is an instantaneous change in your skin conductance. It's instantaneous. So let's say somebody has a skin issue. What do those look like? Let's name some. Psoriasis, what else? Right? Yep, dermatitis. Yep, seborrhea. You got it. Acne. Rosacea, hives. So all of this stuff is improved immediately, instantly when you ground. It's instantaneous. There's the chart right there. That you can see where it happens. I'm going to point it out. So right there is the moment of grounding. Look at the change. Boom, boom, instant. You can see it over here, folks, if you're on this side. Boom, the instant you ground, your skin conductance changes. That then cascades deeper and deeper. And just from my own research on looking at all the studies that Clint's given me over the years, is I've been able to see that it takes about 10 minutes for the other things to start coming in. Because our body's gated. Do you know what I mean by that? It's like we're in a gated community. All those electrons just can't charge in and vandalize the place. Right? Our body's like, okay, hold on. You're going to go through gate 1, skin first, then deeper, second, muscle tissue. Then it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And eventually, if you're paying attention, it starts getting to those deep-seated issues in our organs, in those places deep inside our tissue where there can be positive charges or deficiency of charges, which may be called things like tumors. Excessive growth. Excessive growth. So we're starting to see, We're starting to see a relationship between our body's ability to inhibit excessive growth. What's that? I mean, I was just reading up on ovarian cysts. Ovarian cysts come and go with what? Hormone cycles. If the hormone cycle is way out of balance, the grandfather clock is suddenly 30 minutes behind, then all of a sudden a cyst can grow out of control. And the body can't draw it back again because the circadian rhythms are out of balance. What happens then? Well, then we start to develop such large growths that I remember a young girl that I went to school with, she had a gigantic grapefruit-sized cyst removed from her body because her body couldn't bring it back, couldn't reabsorb it because of the circadian rhythm issues. How do we keep that in balance? Just simply walking barefoot, touching the earth, connecting to the earth. There's a revolution coming.
亦可以改善一系列健康問題，令白血球、淋巴球、紅膽紅素等數字恢復正常。
Okay, let's look at some of these images. There's what the study was about. Again, we're looking at markers, delayed onset muscle soreness. We're looking at eosinophils, white blood cell counts, red blood cell counts, etc. So here's white blood cells. Grounded, dramatic decrease, which you can see right here what this means. See that blue, the blue part of the graph there, that line? What's going on there? It means that the white blood cells are ramping up because there's inflammation. But if we're grounded, there's no inflammation, so everything just goes right back down. Look at this here, same type of thing, neutrophils. When we're not grounded, the inflammation is greater, increases, so as we're grounded, draws that right back down. Here we see it again, look at that. Lymphocytes, what's a lymphocyte? White blood cell again, and boom, drops when we're grounded. Here it is again. These markers are really important because if we've been studying the name of the game when it comes to cancer, when it comes to aging in general, even cardiovascular disease, pretty much all evidence is pointing to immune system. If we've really been paying attention, it's all pointing saying, okay, if our immune system is strong enough, we're going to be able to knock out whatever it is. And if our immune system isn't, we're going to be in trouble. Has anybody come to that conclusion from studying the research? It seems to be pointing to that, if we're at that level of understanding. Because like inflammation, okay, that's whatever, but if our immune system is able to deal with the inflammation and what's underneath it, the calcification, it's all going to be cool. But if it's not going to be cool. If our immune system is able to get on top of the tumors, it's going to be okay. If it's not able to, trouble. So we see here that our immune system is activated in a way where we're not crying wolf for 4 days in a row after our, say, cycling tour or whatever it is that we do for our exercise. Okay, look at this right here, bilirubin levels. Now, bilirubin is the premier antioxidant in your body. It's secreted by your liver. Look at the difference here. Look what's going on. When we're grounded, our bilirubin is dramatically different, meaning our bilirubin is called up and it has to deal with an inflammatory condition. Therefore, it's going to be doing a lot more work than it needs to. As soon as we're grounded, that changes like that. And that's one of the biggest differences that I've seen in the research is on bilirubin. That grounding dramatically changes what the bilirubin is doing in your body.
He has made one of the most significant health discoveries of all time.
Pretty far-fetched, I thought, but something to consider while dealing with the cold reality of the day.
35 below wind chill. Does the sink work?
20 below zero, sitting overnight. Couldn't use this. Oh, dear.
But the more I thought about that internet show with its elevated message, perhaps there was some truth to it. Greatest health discovery ever? Okay, when you're in physical pain like I was, you tend to look closer at your options for some kind of relief. This was a winter like no other. 44 feet of snow fell in total.
There's a reason why I feel crappy today yet. Hello! Can you help me carry some pieces of firewood?
The workload was daunting and unrelenting. My back muscles kept me in agony. My frozen hands stayed numb.
Here's a fence. It's
an 8-foot-high fence. But as you can see,
I take care of orphaned wildlife. Their lives fared much better in the brutal season compared to their wild counterparts. You might have wondered what that greatest health discovery pronouncement made on that internet show was. It is called earthing, which refers to the recent uncovering of the fact that major health benefits result from contact with the Earth's energy field by walking barefoot. Wearing conductive footwear, such as leather, also works. But because I was desperate, I went for the whole treatment, from head to toe, regardless of the temperature. After about 20 minutes of lying naked on the bare earth in below freezing temperatures, a wave of calm had come over me, and I felt warm and tingly. The next morning, something was missing. It was the pain in my back, and both of my hands were no longer numb. This was crazy. How could this have occurred? Was it my imagination? Did I simply tell myself the pain would go away if I touched the earth, and by doing so it would? I decided to try a different method. Of course, I didn't want to stay connected to the earth by lying outside in the cold. Since earthing or grounding is all about soaking up the earth's free electrons, all I needed to do was stick a grounding rod into the earth and bring the energy right into the cabin. And while I was at it, why not start an experiment to see if this magic works on other living things? And so I also cut 2 sprigs off a cottonwood sapling, grounding one and not the other, to see if it would influence the sprouting of the buds. This, I thought, would be the litmus test. But hey, why stop with cottonwood twigs? It was almost Valentine's Day, and my helper Rocky delivered ideal additional specimens for my experiment.
thank you.
I put the first batch of lilies in the new workshop edition, which were not grounded to the earth, and even added the stuff that comes with store-bought flowers to give them a longer shelf life. The other batch for the grounding experiment. But the next morning, after sleeping grounded, something else was happening. I noticed I wasn't grinding my teeth in my sleep anymore either. Things started coming into focus rapidly after that. The cottonwood sprig that was in the grounded vase sprouted before the other one. And then the verdict was in between the grounded and ungrounded lilies. Guess which lily kept its petals the longest? The grounded lily, of course. All the ungrounded lilies in the new workshop edition had long been dead. It is a moment like this that you just want to jump on your snow machine and get to the first person you can think of who is suffering, who might really take you seriously. That person was my associate Mario Benassi. And then my helper Rocky caught an internet discourse between 2 celebrity doctors about this earthing discovery.
I got to see, I think a lot of folks are going to see, this is where Dr. Mercola, he fell off the wagon on this one. What? Who's doing this? Like, who gave this idea? Well, it's because it's not simply walking barefoot. It's the devil's in the detail. It's walking barefoot on the earth. And the earth is a massive source of free electrons. And when you do that, these electrons go into your body.
So my mother-in-law has been torturing me like this. She's been talking to me about walking barefoot outside, which I thought was just a scam to get me out of the house.
Meantime, my associate Mario had some news.
I didn't really think it was true. Like, I didn't want to believe it at first. But it's the truth. He hasn't been snoring for the last 3 nights. Now I don't hear him snore at all.
After an initial email, Clint Ober, the man who discovered grounding or earthing for modern man, contacted me. I explained to him how many people I knew were suffering in our community. He responded with this box. From then on, all I had to do was disseminate information and put together resources to anyone I knew that would benefit.
Word's getting out. Tim, are you there? Now you're in pain, right?
I am.
You got what's the matter?
Ruptured disc.
So you're in always pain.
Always.
Take this. Oh, you're here. So I just bumped into you.
Local business owners took this seriously. My reputation and hunch about grounding was now open to public scrutiny. Either this was going to change the community of Haines, Alaska, or I'd be the laughingstock of the town. Alaskans, it seems, are skeptical by nature and quite opinionated to boot.
Show me a better way, I'll do better.
Saying, Steve, that you should just take this thing and run with it and get it out to the public as fast as possible, to as many people as possible.
It's a concept I hadn't considered. So whether it makes sense or not, who's to say?
But I did crawl underneath the house and get naked and lay on the earth for about 20 minutes. And I felt better.
Why would the local doctor be so underwhelmed by this?
Uh-oh. Something happened here.
Ron, and I'll tell you how dang good I feel without any back problems whatsoever.
Really? Has your back gotten better?
I have absolutely no pain in my back whatsoever.
And how long have you had this back pain prior to meeting on this earthing thing?
20 years. Day to day was a struggle.
My goodness.
Every day was a struggle to get through.
Oh, we got it in the truck. Well, the wolf will like that.
Almost everyone was being transformed. In my hometown, there continued to be profound and life-impacting reports. At the Eagle Foundation, for example, there was Dave Oru, who had been a paraplegic for 30 years, in a state of unimaginable suffering, barely able to twitch his toes. Until now. He had only been grounded a month.
Thanks for the moose branches.
You're welcome.
What are you going to help me, what's that?
That's a drowning thing. Lady, she get it back because she can't get too ill or she'll lose her disability. It's okay?
But then there was Rocky himself, a man who lives a hard life and sort of is homeless, who sleeps in his truck each night, until I invited him to stay with me in the cabin. There was no way I would ever get a good night's sleep with that type of situation happening on the couch, 4 feet away from my bed. The next night, Mr. Seward agreed to allow me to hook him up to the earth in an experiment. He had nothing to lose, really, since he'd never gotten a true night's sleep anyway, due to waking up choking and with a headache and more. You guessed it. He never snored again.